Hi, I'm Katie Toma, President and CEO of the Chico Chamber, and today I'm here with Toni Scott, who's one of the owners of Morrison. Toni has 9 years experience working with Morrison and working with companies, and Toni and I had a conversation last week about the Paycheck Protection Program, and one of the things that I hadn't thought about really in great detail was what do business owners do once they receive the money? How they track that money, and what do they need to do? So Toni, I appreciate you being here today and sharing with us the wisdom on some tips that you could give some of these business owners. So maybe you can explain that to us.
Yeah, thank you, Katie. So one of the things that we do at Morrison that we really pride ourselves on is being trusted advisors, both to small businesses and large businesses. We work throughout California and the nation, serving in three main service lines. So one is business and accounting advisory, where our team comes in as interim controllers or interim CFOs, or maybe just adds a little bit of depth and help in the finance department. And we work one-on-one with clients on site or remotely, helping to give that advice. And then we also have a human resources team, a people team, that works to do executive recruiting, but also kind of sorting through any strategic planning, any human resources issues, doing any organizational development. And then on my side, I lead a team that does competitive grant writing. So when we look at the Paycheck Protection Program, it's kind of a perfect melding of all of our expertise into one program where we're able to offer guidance as far as what we see, our team sees on the finance side, what I see in grants and kind of keeping up with anything with government requirements to ensure that you're properly spending grant funds. And then of course on the HR side, with this being primarily about getting people back to work and paying for salaries and benefits, that's something where we have a unique expertise. So a lot of the questions that we've been getting over the past week is, our banks did a wonderful job getting our application in. We have the money. How do we make sure that we spend this correctly to make sure that we maximize that potential to have the loan turned into a grant?
So what are the types of advice that your suggestions that you're giving to your businesses?
So one thing is this isn't a typical loan program, and Katie, you know this well with your years of being in banking. This was very rushed and very chaotic. But with it, there are different guidelines. You can't just spend it on anything that you would with a normal business loan. So one thing that we're really stressing to anybody that we're chatting with or working with is to ensure that you really understand what your personnel costs are. One thing with the PPP program is it is based on an 8-week time period. Most businesses that we work with pay on a monthly period. So that's a little bit different. It's a different time frame. And so you really want to understand what your personnel costs are on a weekly basis so you fully recognize and understand what those eligible expenses are. And that's really important because in order for the loan to be considered for forgiveness and to get that maximum forgiveness amount, your personnel costs need to be at least 75% of what you're spending the PPP loan money on. So if you spend under that and you're spending more on the other eligible expenses like rent or mortgage interest, you could miss out on getting that full loan forgiven.
So there's a lot of detail, a lot of nuances, because what are their personnel costs? Does that include workers' comp? You know, what are all the types of expenses as it relates to personnel? So you have put together a one-page kind of 4 points that employers should look at. So that's being posted along with this video. So if business owners want to kind of hear the recap of that, we'll provide that. And then if they want more extensive assistance, they could reach out to somebody at Morrison.
Definitely. And really for us, the 4 points are pretty simple, but as you know, anything with government funding is not simple. There are nuances, things are changing every day. I believe that the CARES Act that came through is about, the document we have is about 334 pages, I believe. Which again is just not typical for the speed at which we need to get the funding out. So the high level things are know your personnel costs, know that you need to make sure that you're spending at least 75% of the your PPP loan amount on personnel costs. Another thing is to really understand your full-time equivalent employees for certain time periods. One of the contingencies of loan forgiveness is keeping up both your FTEs, your full-time equivalents on your payroll, but also keeping their salary the same as well. And that'll be really important to understand forgiveness.
Yeah, because we really would be really terrible to get to the end of this and they realize that they spent the money on the wrong things and that in fact it ends up being a loan and that it's not able to be forgiven. So that would be terrible.
And one of our goals is you might not be able to fully maximize the forgiveness. There might be some nuances that come a little bit down the line and some bumps in the road. But if you can take the effort to be as prepared and as fully informed before you start spending the funding, you can be a little bit more flexible to weather those bumps. If you just start spending the funding without doing a little bit of planning ahead and a little bit of due diligence, you could set yourself up where this loan can't be forgiven. That said, it's amazing loan terms and something that is would not be a worst case scenario. So I mean, in this 1% is just really stellar, and we're thankful that this relief is coming out to businesses.
Great. Well, Toni, thanks for being with us today, and you really shed some light on how to manage your PPP money once you receive it. And I think what I heard loud and clear is be strategic, understand your costs, and thanks for being here. And we will include your 4 points that you discussed in our interview along with your video. So thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Bye.